Yo guys, I hope you're doing as great as I am, because Konami had a treat for us. An emergency ban list. They don't call it that, but let's be real, last ban list was like just over a month ago, and now we get another one. It is basically an emergency ban list, and it's a banger of a ban list. Like, if you remember, there were a lot of videos, one of mine included, arguing that there is such a great meta game, like waiting below the surface, getting ruined by just a couple of very oppressive and game-ending cards that I would like to see gone, and this list basically fixes exactly that. It obviously does not hit like everything, like this is not a complete list banning every single generically oppressive floodgate whatever, but it's the worst ones right now, and I hope that this signals a change in direction, because a lot of people were really sad about how YCS Anaheim went with like on stream being very uninteractive games, particularly in the finals, and that they did treat these cards differently in the new Genesis format. And this was in fact one of the biggest critiques of the Genesis format. Like, why can that format have like all these super oppressive cards that are just not fun at 100 points, while the TCG still has to deal with them? While arguably being like better cards, even more oppressive cards than the TCG, because games end quicker there, right? Skipping a single turn with D-Barrier is better in a format that has less turns. But now they, like I said, took care of the worst offenders, namely Arch Nemesis Protoss being searchable, very strong in Ryzeal, Mjolnir. Specifically, the new like Crystron Canine variants made this, but there was definitely potential for this to be abused in other decks. Two of the barrier statues, honestly, with this, in my opinion, they could have banned all, because arguably the water barrier statue is also not like unproblematic right now. Like, all of these cards, whenever they see play, they are an issue, and water barrier statue is kind of on the fringes of the format with Murmur, right? But we ban the rock and the pyro one, probably because the rock one is banned, because right now we're searching Fossil Diner. With Fossil Diner gone, people would just go to search the barrier statue of Gallant Granite. So it makes sense to take those two out together. They're functionally almost the same card. And the fire one, probably for a similar reason, because at that point you could just make Banshee and search like the barrier statue, the pyro barrier statue, instead of making Granite to search one of these. So really probably similar reasoning. Obviously, there still is like the argument, well, maybe these generic, like two generic extra deck searches just shouldn't be a thing, and I definitely agree. In my opinion, both cards should be banned, but the floodgates are definitely the more problematic cards. But just like King of the Feral Imps was banned, I would have no issue to see like Gallant Granite or Banshee or whatever banned, because there's always that potential in the future that there is just one pyro card that's really insane to search, and like whatever deck can put 2 level 4s on board just searches it, or like bridges into another engine with like Mitsurugi, with Feral Imps. Like, this could also happen with all of the others of these searches, even though they are kind of cool. And I'm not saying that these shouldn't exist in general. I find it pretty cool actually to be able to bridge into certain stuff, but I feel like it should happen more organically, not like in the way that Mitsurugi did things, like you basically just went for Raizio combo and then made a rank 4 and then to go for Mitsurugi combo. I really don't like that. I prefer it, and I feel like one of the best examples here is Sword Soul Tenyi, that decks that just happen to go very well together, not because, well, I can one card combo decks and I can search the starter, so why not? Like cards that actually, they don't even need to have like super, like, that either have like very similar game plans, very similar strategies, very similar ideas that they revolve around and make sense together that way, or that just have some very niche interaction between the two that just changes everything. I really enjoy that, but just finding some way to bridge into another one-card combo, in my opinion, is quite boring. So, big tangent here again, but I would like those cards be seen, taken care of in the future as well. Evil Swarm Ouroboros, again, this is not technically a floodgate, but it serves very similarly. The only time you make this is if you just use it as one hand rip, that's fine, but usually 3 monsters for just one hand rip oftentimes isn't good enough. Most of the time, if you do this, you want to do it multiple times, and at that point it's just really not healthy at all. Hand rips in general are like kind of on the verge. Like, I feel like there's room for hand rips to be to exist. Like, I don't think that a hand rip is something that cannot exist, but they are also one of those types of cards that can get oppressive very, very quickly, and you have to really be careful about designing around them. Like, they definitely need a hard once per turn, and maybe even have your opponent decide which one gets ripped, basically, even though then they have to be banished because something in the grave that might be too bad, like that could just be a starter for your opponent, something like that, whatever. Getting something they want to grave. But the point is, hand rips are very, very dangerous. I do think that they can exist, but Evil Swarm Ouroboros is designed in a way, without a hard once per turn, things like that, where if it's seeing use, it's probably not healthy. You could also rata hard once per turn onto this, could also be fine, but just be safe, just ban it, do the easy thing, and make the game better. And then Dimensional Barrier. How many years have we cried about Dimensional Barrier having to get banned, and it's finally time. Like, I think it came out 2016, so almost 10 years. Like, finally, man. In the beginning, when it came out, it wasn't as bad. Like I said, the format was still a little bit slower. You could reasonably, like, with a couple hand traps and back rows, maybe make it to another turn and then be fine about it. But even then, it was very, very oppressive. And still, to this day, whenever you see this card, it feels really, really bad for one of the players. And none of the two players are playing Yu-Gi-Oh! So getting rid of this, in my opinion, is really, really good. So how does this change the format? And honestly, I don't think that too much will change. Like, Crystal Arcanine obviously gets a little bit worse, but I don't think that the deck is unplayable without the Mjolnir lock. Like, it's still a good deck, like not top tier, but still good, and I'd be surprised if people stop playing it completely, but it definitely is a hit to the deck. Whereas Raizio does suffer quite a bit more. I don't think that Raizio right now has really any good win conditions outside of like Protoss and Ouroboros, so we'll have to see what Raizio does. Obviously, Raizio still is a deck with a lot of potential, but Yeah, it just had a lot of unfortunate, very unhealthy interactions with a lot of other cards, and finding the right balance there might just be impossible, so definitely good. And it's obviously a buff to all decks that lose quite hard to D-Barrier, like Draco Tail, although Draco Tail with 5 mana had a little bit more game into it, especially Mitsurugi profits a lot from this, like really much, because maybe you could get to a rank 4, but aside from that you really had nothing into D-Barrier except like maybe Baguska Pass, which is why we've seen all the yummy Mitsurugi hybrid variants, because those decks, like, not only do they cover their weaknesses pretty well, playing a Synchro and a Ritual deck meant, well, you could, D-Barrier could only lock you out of one, made a lot of sense, so maybe now the favor swings back a little bit towards the pure variants again, but we'll definitely also still see like the combined version. Mitsurugi was obviously the main deck searching for the Fossil Diner with Gallant Granite. This technically makes the deck weaker, like the post board going first. Games won't be as free anymore, but I think that the trade-off for Dimensional Barrier is definitely worth it. Like, you didn't do the Fossil Diner thing because your deck wasn't capable of winning. Mitsurugi is still an insanely good deck. The reason you did it is while you were playing the Gallant Granite to search Nibiru anyways, so that one side deck slot really doesn't cost a lot and makes like the post side going first games so much easier. But if you're going first, your deck is still very likely to win, and not having to deal with D-Barrier definitely makes up for that easily, very easily. So yeah, overall the form, like, this takes out quite a lot of cards that are actually quite problematic in the format, but doesn't significantly change it. Like, it just makes it a more healthy experience from first glance. Obviously, could be that there are a lot of other problematic floodgates that people now go into. Like, there obviously still are some things like Shifter, Dimension Fissure, Post-Sight, and Mitsurugi especially. Things like that, but first of all, I think for the most part they are at least not quite as either oppressive or prevalent as these are, and maybe at that point, if there comes something around that really is as oppressive or close to these cards, maybe they ban that as well. Who knows? I hope that they keep up with this, because it's a really good change. It makes people play real Yu-Gi-Oh! More often, and I think that has to be a good thing. So I hope they continue doing it. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, enjoy the next format, and see you then. Bye.